Well, welcome back to NRB here in Orlando, the World Resort. And we're sponsored by our good friends at Freedom Square. Please check out their app and check out all the things that are going on within their application. It's really cool. And with me is Pulitzer Prize nominated investigative journalist, Troy Anderson. Troy, great to have you on the show.
It's a great honor to be here.
And another exciting episode here on Frontline with Justin Gaston. Justin, man, great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good to be here. I thought you were introducing me as a surprise winner. I was like, I didn't do that. I was like, where's this going?
We have surprises here, not of.
Yeah, I'm like, great, good news.
You are an actor.
Yes, yes.
Tell us, before we get into the newest role that you have, what led you into becoming an actor? What was your aspiration? Why did you want to do this?
Well, I grew up in Louisiana, and I had the opportunity out of high school to move to New York and start modeling. And I started playing music in high school. I played sports and sort of left that and joined theater and started playing guitar. And so I wanted to do music. I think I always wanted to act, but I was a little hesitant. I was probably a little scared to do that. And so I feel like I kind of eased my way into it and started leading worship at church in high school. And that sort of led me, I ended up doing a show called Nashville Star, which was like a reality competition show when I was 19. And that sort of led me into moving into LA and getting a record deal and that kind of got me into the acting. I feel like anytime I'm like pushing into music, it like pushes me into a movie or a show. So they kind of always ping pong back and forth.
It all kind of coincides with each other.
Yeah, in a good way.
And so, how long have you been in the business so far?
Oh man, 17 years maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
You're not a novice.
I know. I didn't just leave home.
And your family members, everybody's rooting for you to be in this industry and in the business.
Yeah, my parents were very, very supportive. Which I left home at 17, so I imagine that's probably pretty scary I remember my mom dropping me off in New York. And I don't know how she did it. Like I have two young daughters and there's no way I would like maybe pretend I dropped them off and then just like follow them around everywhere to make sure they were okay. But I don't know how they did it, but they were extremely supportive and still are.
Wonderful. You're married?
I am married. Been married for 10 years in September.
Okay, sorry, ladies. He's already taken. I can't help you.
Off the market.
Yeah. He's off the market. Troy.
Tell us about your new movie.
So the new movie is called God's Country Song, and it's going to be on PureFlix June 16th. And I play a country singer named Noah Bryan, who grew up on a farm in Arkansas and left home to go pursue his dreams of being a country music singer. And he's really, really grinded, worked hard, and he's kind of at the point in his career where it seems like he's finally going to get his big break. And he finds out he has a young son, and so he's at this point of deciding, am I going to do the right thing? Am I going to raise my son? Am I going to keep living selfishly and pursue my own dreams? And he deals with these addiction issues because of past trauma in his life, and gets himself into some trouble. And he kind of has to, find his faith. It becomes more of a moment of, am I gonna turn back and find God, or am I just gonna go off the deep end and kind of just throw my hands up?
When you're talking, I can see in your face, you really are living this piece in one sense. I mean, it's not just an acting job for you, but this is a faith journey for you.
Yeah, and Noah and I, that we're similar in a lot of ways. We both grew up in the South, and I grew up on country music. I left home at an early age to pursue a dream. I mean, our family dynamics are different.
Right.
I was fortunate to grow up with a very loving mother and father, which Noah has too, but I just never, until my dad passed away, he was one of my best friends, and I feel very fortunate for that. But yeah, we're so similar in a lot of ways, and I really like this movie because it's honest in a way that I think we all have ups, if we're honest, have ups and downs in our faith, and moments when we're either mad at God or like David, like what's happening, why would I hurt like this, and question. I think it's so nice because so many people question faith and question God, and when we as Christians can be like, yeah, that's good, like wrestle with that, like and God wants to he wants to meet you in that.
Yeah, life's not linear. I mean, it's not all the way up or all the way down. It's just like it's a struggle.
Yeah.
And it's God in the midst of all that wants us just to turn to him.
Yeah.
And have faith in him. So it seems like this character you're playing and yourself all as well. What I want to tell our audience is this, that if you're struggling in life, if you are listening to what Justin is saying and all the things that are going on in his character and in his own life, and you can relate to that, then you're part of the human race.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we are. We struggle with things.
Yeah. I think, and to your point, like in this, if you're watching this movie, I think we don't want to feel alone, and so you can watch Noah's journey, and it's just human. It's human that you're watching, like human nature unfold, and like the ups and the downs and the relapses, and I think a big portion of this is like God's grace for us, and he already made the sacrifice while we were still sinners. Christ, he knew what he was doing, and so you can't, because I think a lot of times, you talk with people like, nah, I've done this and I've done that, and I'm doing this and doing that, and it's like, yeah, God knows, like he already knew when he died on the cross, he knew he had,
Absolutely.
he knew everything that was ever going to happen. So I think, just be comforted that God's grace is sufficient, and and turn, repent, turn and go the other way.
A lot of young people today are dealing with fatherlessness and anxiety and depression, that kind of thing. Can you talk about how this film, it was in your career might help people, young people today, there's no probably struggle, challenges.
Yes, I agree. There's like it's so, especially I feel the weight of being a father now, and I feel this, like, I was talking to my wife about this recently, like I feel so much pressure, but in a good way, to like be a good father, because to your point, like there's all these statistics and just fatherless homes, like that, it's just out there. It's like, and so, Noah, I think a big part of the issue is his relationship with his father. Like he so wants his father's approval. He's chasing this dream, and he's also like just desperate for his dad's approval. And so, he has his father in his life, but there's that rub, and he just knows it's not right. And so I think to your point, like it's just so, like, fathers are so important, and it's just so important, to wake up every day as a father and put your priorities in place and live outside of yourself. I mean, it's like,
Wow.
You just want the best for your children. I want the best for my two girls, and it's like, I was just talking about this recently. I have this song that's going to come out soon. It's called The One, and it's kind of about this. It's about, well, like, it's about how Jesus was the only one that could save us. But it's, the first line in the song is, I can't run away from my mistakes like I used to. And when you're young, you can sort of have this like wiggle room to make mistakes a lot of times. But like now as a father, any mistake I make is a generational mistake. It's, it's a mistake for my children. And then that affects their relationships with men growing up, with 2 daughters, and then that affects their children's relationships. And so it's just, it's so, not not to discourage, it's like, embrace that. And oddly enough, the song in the movie is called Being the Man. Like that's the song. And that's kind of like, be the man, be the man God's called you to be.
If I can share some fatherly and grandfatherly
Please,
advice,
please.
is number one, you're going to make mistakes.
Yo, yeah.
Okay.
I have,
Number
Yeah.
two is God can work through those mistakes.
yeah.
No one, I was talking to John Hagee, who's pastor of a great church, Cornerstone Church, and he was telling me, he says, everybody's got issues.
Yeah.
No one comes out of this life unscathed. So this movie that you're making is really a portrayal of all of us struggling in some
Yeah.
capacity with some relationship, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, and great to your point, like Jesus and God will ultimately, the ultimate healers, and will make all things right. Which is great to as a father to remember, like God is in control of the situation. But I think as you're leaning into Him and and having grace for yourself, that you will make mistakes. But yeah, that's a great point, and thank you for encouraging me in that.
Well, I think it relieves our stress
Yeah,
sometimes, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's not like this. But yeah, I do think it's so important to have mothers and fathers in your life when you can. And I think that's kind of what Noah is dealing with. I mean, he loses his brother like early on, and I think that sort of like just deals with that loss, and he's dealing with his relationship with his dad, and his mom's kind of caught in the middle of it. And I think ultimately it takes him coming back to God, to like, he's got to get right. He's got to get that relationship right before he can sort of.
if we could go back a moment, I know Troy will bring you here in just a moment, but going back into the physical aspects, we may have some viewers here that want to become an actor,
Yeah.
or want to get into movies or do all of that. Getting the role.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that brought, because I've heard, we just talked to Brandon, we talked to other actors and actresses today, and life, it's tough, but did you think you were going to get the role? How many were competing? How did you prepare for it? All, just give us a skinny on
Yeah,
that.
the life of an actor is very strange, and I feel like it's gotten more strange. Everything's kind of on tape now. It's not as much you're not as much in the room, like winning the roles, as you used to. It's kind of like put it on tape at home, send it off and pray, which is it's different. But yeah, I got the audition, filmed it. My wife's an actress, so that helps. She put me on tape. I think I sang a Kenny Chesney song for the audition, because I didn't have the music yet. And then yeah, I didn't hear anything for a month, which is you kind of get in this, hopefully, like you can't, as an actor, like I would definitely say you can't put too much pressure on one. There's a million reasons why you can or cannot get a role.
Right.
That could be, you do the best you can to your ability, and you just give it to God, because that ultimately that's.
And do you happen to know how many people were trying out for the role?
I don't know. I remember I was talking to a buddy in Nashville recently, and I was kind of telling him that I just did this movie. He's like, "Oh, I auditioned for that." So I'm sure they auditioned like quite a lot of people, but and especially like in LA and in Nashville, you kind of all get to know each other, like, because there's the acting pool, and then there's sort of the actors that do music pool. So you kind of, over the course of almost 20 years, you kind of get to know the guys in your age range. And but yeah, I mean, I didn't hear anything for a month, and then it was kind of like I got a call from my manager, like, "Hey, you got to get on a call today with the director." And it's like, which is kind of the hurry up and wait, that I was like, "Oh, okay, like let me go home and do that." And
So there's a lot of uncertainty out there, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's just a lot of rhymes and reasons. You just don't, like I say, you just don't know. And as a young actor, like you can get so like, I can remember being up for certain roles and you're just like, you're hanging everything on it. And I was kind of just talking about this. I feel so fortunate because I met my wife at 22 and got married at 24, and we have a 7 and 5-year-old. And I feel like once you kind of move into that, you're like, okay, this is like your priorities kind of get shifted. Like, all right, like I'm grounded in my faith and my family, which is hard again to the point of Noah and his character.
Yeah.
It's like you forsake a lot of time with like my family, with my parents and my brother and sister when I was younger, and I left all that, and you lose a lot to go out and pursue this dream, and it's kind of what Noah's dealing with.
Sacrifices.
Yeah, and sorry.
No, it's okay.
When I was in junior high and high school, I was in a number of plays. And so I thought, maybe I'll just become an actor. So I took acting my first year in college. And I was in like a Shakespeare play, another one. At some point, I was like, maybe I'm a little too shy to be an actor. Maybe this isn't the right path for me. And my dad said, why don't you try journalism? I think you'd be good at that. So I became a journalist. Right. But for somebody watching this show, and you're wondering, maybe God's calling me into acting or entertainment industry. How did you discover that this was your path in life? This is God is going to destiny for you.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've sort of, maybe for better or for worse, always kind of been like, I'm just gonna go with the flow, what I feel like God's calling me to do. Which my wife is similar. Like people are always looking at us like, you guys are really impulsive, and I just almost feel like it takes that, like you kind of have to be willing to just go. Like.
Impulsive.
Not impulsive. I don't know if that's like sometimes that can be a bad thing, but I just like to, like a lot of times I'm just like, I feel like this is what God's calling me to do. And if I'm wrong, I hope there's grace for that. But I'm doing it because I feel like I'm being called into it. And I feel like anything, like, if you feel like God's calling you to that, I mean, if he's given you a passion for it, my advice is try it. It's hard. I think you'll regret not trying it. I don't think you'll regret trying it and being like, well, I felt like that was what God was calling me to do, and I didn't try it, so I'll never know.
At least you gave it a shot, and then you'll know, and you can look back and say, yeah, I tried that. That's really not for me.
Well, the other thing too is like, what's so hard is we look at these big actors and it's like that's success. And I think you move to LA or New York or wherever, and you're like, that's the dream. And then I think you start to realize success is relative, and like what is success? Like success is getting to do what I love, whatever that might look like, and spending as much time as I can with my family. Like, I don't know. I think that's a big part of it too. Like, what is making it?
Yeah.
Are you doing what you love? Like, to what extent are you doing it? Like, that would be another thing that's hard to like tell people, but yeah, just everything's relative.
I was listening to Robert De Niro, one of the great actors, most successful and all that. He was talking about, just recently, he said, you can never let up as an actor. He says, once you do, that's it. And I mean, he's reached the pinnacles of success in some of the biggest blockbusters. And yet, and I'm not saying I like his lifestyle, or I'm just talking about his motives or his acting ability is really good.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's very it's like quicksand. You never know, when you're gonna fall into something.
You never know. And I think that goes to the point of like, what is success to you? Like, I think it might look like one thing, but I mean, being a good husband and a good father and doing what I love when I can do it. I mean, again, it's like, you're going to have highs and lows, like, especially as an actor. It might be a year where you do 10 movies and then 2 years where you do none. Like, you just don't know. You don't know. I mean, unless you're Robert De Niro, then because you're producing the movies, probably. But like, I don't know. There's just a beauty in trusting God. What's the verse? It's like 2 things I pray for. That you
don't make me poor.
Yeah, it's like you're kind of always like at God's mercy, and it's like, I think that's a good place to be. Because I think if you're controlling the narrative always, then you don't have to rely on God. You know?
So we sort of combine this love of acting with your faith in God. If somebody watching this, if they'd like to, do what Jesus has called them to do, what kind of advice would you offer to people, or combine these two things together, your life mission and serving the Lord?
In regards to the entertainment industry, or just well, it's tough. The entertainment industry is tough because I feel like, at least for me personally, a lot of times you want success, quote unquote success, and a lot of times it's compromising to your faith. You're like, I don't want to do that, but I want to work, and you get into this trap of like, well, I want people to value me and think this of me and that of me, and it's like, at the end of the day, I got to stand before God one day, and it's like, okay, you're like wrestling all these, and so that I'm so thankful for PureFlix and for this job in particular, because I can really stand behind this project. I can really, it's something I truly believe in. So I would say be uncompromising would be the first thing in your faith, and above all else, like don't get caught in success and in what other people think of you. Like, I think the most important thing is what God thinks of you, and that would be uncompromising.
It's interesting to me as I picked up a few things, and I was thinking, as an actor, there may be some things in the past you're not so proud of, or you couldn't stand behind. How did you navigate that?
You mess up. You do things you're not proud of, and that's how you sort of gain perspective the hard way. My dad always said you can learn from your mistakes or other people's, and sometimes you have to learn from your own. And that's how I can that's why I would give that advice. I mean, I think you're always gonna, I think if you choose God, you're never gonna regret that. I think, you could miss out on the biggest movie opportunity, but if you felt like, oh, I just wish I hadn't done that thing in that movie, or that didn't sit right, you'll always regret that.
Will there be certain things in the future that you will not do if they called you to do something?
Yeah, I mean, especially having two young daughters, that changes your perspective. I mean, when you're younger and you're like in the sort of grind, you're like, I don't know, like, think of your future also as a young actor moving out. Like, think of 10 years, 15 years down the road. Like, it's not, don't just always think of the now and where that can get you. But I think there are things that I won't do that I've sort of maybe have done in the past. I'm like, I won't do that. Like, I don't, that's definitely helps having young daughters. I don't want them to see that.
We were having dinner with Kevin Sorbo a while back on his movie The Rise of the Antichrist, and I believe the actor is Neil, who is one of his lead actor, who plays the Antichrist, and he's big in Hollywood. McDonough. Yeah, and he's been criticized by Hollywood producers. He won't do certain scenes. He won't do like kissing or whatever. And but yet he still makes huge. They want him in the movies all the time. So that's kind of like, he's a Christian, he's a believer. It's kind of best of both worlds. You don't always get that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough because you want to work and you want to, but I think at the end of the day, you want to do something that you can stand behind and be proud of, and that at least for me, what I feel like, reflects God's nature and who God is and who He's created me to be. So I think that's the most important thing. I think really, like, at the end of the day.
Amen. Any last words? We're going to wrap this up that you want to tell our audience.
Hope you watch God's Country Song June 16th on PureFlix.
June 16th, PureFlix. Check it out, folks. And thanks for joining us on NRB and Frontline and Battle Ready. And I have a question for all of you. Are you battle ready?